Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another edition of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Workers' Credit Union studio at Fitchburg Access Television. I am your host, George Meridanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club, the second oldest chess club in Massachusetts, meets every Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 10:30 in rooms 142 and 143 of the McKay Complex at the university. And with me today for this episode of Chess Chat is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, who has been directing Chess Chat since October 2006. And assisting him in the control room is fellow resident Brian Bigelow, a longtime member of the Wachusett Chess Club. And sitting across from me is my colleague and friend, a chess author, a chess photographer, a very active chess tournament player, Dave Kuchar of Westminster. Hello, Dave.
Hello, George.
Well, Dave, a major chess event was played and finished last week in Madrid, Spain. What was that event that was concluded last week?
It's called the Candidates Tournament.
Right. And this Candidates Tournament is a tournament that is run by the World Chess Federation, more commonly known as by its acronym, FIDE.
FIDE, yeah.
Fédération Internationale des Échecs. Now, this Candidates Tournament, how many players were playing in this Candidates Tournament?
So 8 players.
Okay, 8 players.
So 8 of the top players in the world.
Okay. And they were, yes, among the eight top players of the world. And we're going to actually, before we announce who the winner of that event is, we're going to work our way up from the person who finished last, 8th and last, and work our way up the ladder to the winner. Okay. So let's actually, Darren actually has a photo. And by the way, the photos we're going to show our viewers are courtesy of a very accomplished photographer named Maria Emelianova. Right. Who actually did these photos for chess.com. So if our viewers were to go to chess.com, they would get actually not only coverage of the candidates, but also very, very good photos from the event. But let's actually, from the player who finished in eighth place, and this is Richard Rapport of Hungary. He's 26 years old. He's his world ranking right now, he's number 8 in the world currently. His July FIDE rating.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I looked up actually the ratings. He's the 8th highest rated player in the world right now. Okay. And he became a Grandmaster in 2010. And he finished with 5.5 points out of 14 in this tournament. All right, now we have another player who scored 5.5 points, who finished in 7th place based on tiebreak. And this is Christoph Duda of Poland, 24 years old, and he has a rating of 2750. That's way up there. What is his world ranking? Well, actually, he, believe it or not, is now 15th. So he's dropped. Actually, he was a little higher than that. And he's, again, scored 5.5 points for 7th place. Now, who is it that finished actually in 6th place? We have a photo of Alireza Firouzja. He was the youngest player in this Candidates Tournament, 19 years old. He was born in Iran, but now he lives in France. He's now an Iranian French Grandmaster, and his rating is 2793. He is the 3rd highest rated player in the world, Alireza Firouzja.
He was going into it, was one of the favorites to.
Yes, he was. Exactly, right. Now, who actually ended up in now 5th place? Let's see a photo. Oh, now we've done programs on this Grandmaster because he's an American. American Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana, who's 30 years, in fact, he's going to turn 30 years old on July 30th. Okay. So he has a birthday coming up. And again, his rating is 2783, and he is the 4th highest rated player in the world. And he's been a Grandmaster since 2007. Okay. Yeah. So.
And has played for the World Championship before.
In fact, he played Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship, some years ago. Who finished in 4th place? Hikaru Nakamura. He finished actually with here's Hikaru, 7.5 points. He's 34 years old. And again, his ranking in the world is now 11. So he was certainly higher years ago when he was more active.
I think he was up to number 2.
He did make up to number 2. But Hikaru is actually with a rating of 2760, but he has been a Grandmaster since 2003. So he's been around. So there were 2 Americans in the candidates tournament. Now, who finished actually in 3rd place? Let's see a photo of, Temur Rajabov. Temur Rajabov is from Azerbaijan, and he's the oldest. He's 35 years old, and his ranking now is in the world at 18th. So he's dropped considerably. He was higher than that. World rank is 18. His rating is 2738. But again, one of the strongest players of the world, Rajabov. Now, who finished in 2nd place? Runner-up. We're going to now have a photo of the runner-up. And this is Chinese Grandmaster Ding Liren, 29 years old, who is the 2nd highest chess player in the world with a rating of 2806. There are only 2 players with ratings over 2800. Ding Liren and Magnus Carlsen of Norway. And again, Ding Liren became a Grandmaster in 2009. Now let us come to the winner of this 2022 candidates tournament, and that was Russian Grandmaster Jan Nepomniachtchi. Let's see a photo of Jan Nepomniachtchi, because his ranking, believe it or not, he won the tournament with 9.5 points out of 14, and you told me that this was the best score of the highest score.
Any candidates, right, since they had the current format in 2013.
Right, and this format is a double round robin. 8-player double round robin. Okay, so he had the best score at 9.5 points out of 14, and his rating is 2766. And again, his world ranking, what did I say it was? That was 7th. He's ranked 7th. So even winning the tournament, it didn't raise him the rankings that much. And again, he became a Grandmaster in 2007. So those are the players. Now, Jan Nepomniachtchi, by winning this candidates tournament, now becomes the official challenger for Magnus Carlsen, the current world champion, whom he played last year, 2021. Here's a photo of Magnus Carlsen, who's actually how many matches has he played? 5, I think 5. He's played Sergei Karyakin.
But he played Anand.
He
beat Anand.
I think the total he's played actually had 5.
At least 5. I think so.
Now, there is some talk. I mean, in fact, speaking of talk, he's been doing the talking about possibly not defending his title early next year. The World Chess Federation wants to schedule a world title match in early 2023, but Carlsen has been, talking about possibly not defending his title. What do you think the chances that?
No, I'm not even.
You don't want to speculate. No one really knows.
But I think he's basically said his motivation isn't what it used to be.
Exactly. So we'll have to wait and see. Because the World Chess Federation has given him a deadline. He has until July 20th to make up his mind. He's got to let the World Chess Federation, the governing body, know I'm going to play or I'm not going to play. They want to know actually within a short time whether he's going to play or not. So again,
and there's been talk of changing the format possibly.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, now Jan Nepomniachtchi wins this tournament once again. He won it the previous time, and we, thanks to you, we're going to present to our viewers a game by Nepomniachtchi played in round 1 of this tournament against Ding Liren, who ends up coming in 2nd place at the end. So I think our viewers are going to like this game because it's very instructive. There are a lot of things to learn from this Ding Liren Nepomniachtchi game. And Ding Liren had white in this game. How did he open his game against Nepomniachtchi in round 1 of the candidates tournament?
He played c4, which is a move we don't see that often. It's probably, I'd say, about 10% of the time, roughly.
I don't know, actually. I would have to do some research and find out whether we have ever presented. I'm sure we have. On Chess Chat, I'm sure we have presented this opening move. By the way, does it have a name?
It's called the English.
Okay. Do you know why it's called the English opening?
Yeah, I'll let you.
I
sort of know.
I'll let our viewers know. Okay. The reason why this is called the English opening is that because one of the top British players of the 19th century, the mid to late 19th century, Howard Staunton. That's a familiar. Anyone who's serious about chess would know the name Howard Staunton. His claim, actually, he was a Shakespearean scholar. That's what he did for work.
Okay.
But he was also a chess player, a fantastic chess player. And he played this move, c4, the pawn to c4, in 1843 in a match against a French player by the name of Pierre Saint-Amand. And back then, when he played this, players took note. But it didn't become popular. Even by Staunton playing this c4, this English opening, really didn't become popular until the 20th century. The players in the 19th century were more into swashbuckling chess, playing e4.
E4 all the time.
Yeah, right. So c4 was not popular even after Staunton played it against Saint-Amand in 1843.
Yep.
Okay, so how can Black respond to the English Open? What are some choices
He
that
has
Black
lots of choices, right? C5, which is called the symmetrical.
Right, C5
English.
is possible. Okay,
Right.
all right. What else is possible?
E5 is common.
Yes, E5 probably is the most common, is it?
Well, I think we said knight F6, which you actually.
Yes, knight F6 I think
is actually the most common.
The most commonly played. Develop a piece. Okay, but what did actually Nepomniachtchi play? He didn't play knight F6, did he?
Right.
He played the pawn to E5. Okay, a good move.
Yep.
No, very good. Putting a pawn in the center.
Right.
Okay, Ding Loren's second move, what did he do?
Second move, he plays G3.
Okay.
Not quite as popular as knight C3, but it's not unheard of.
Right. It's a playable move.
Yeah, certainly a
But
playable move.
as you point out, knight C3 is more usually played. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now, in response to that, Jan Nepomniachtchi plays the pawn on C7 to C6. C6. Well, it looks like he's preparing to advance the D pawn to D5.
Right.
So having the C pawn support that advance.
Right.
Okay. Ding Loren's third move, what does he do?
So Ding Loren plays knight to F3, attacking the pawn since it can't be defended. This pawn is taking that square away from the knight.
Okay. But by playing the knight to F3, as Ding Loren did, it allows Black to advance the pawn, the E-pawn, to attack the knight. And that's what Jan did. He played E4, attacks the knight, forcing that knight to move.
Right.
All right, so certainly I don't see him going back to where he came from.
Right.
And so he plays actually the move.
Knight D4 for his fourth move.
Knight D4.
So moves the knight a second time.
All right. All right, so again, Nepomniachtchi is now carrying out his plan. The reason he played C6 on the second move is the support of the D pawn to D5, which he does. D5 is his move, and now it's Ding Loren's now fifth move. What's he going to do?
So he actually captures. C takes D5.
All right, C takes D5. We see it on our screen here. And what Nepomniachtchi does is recapture that pawn on D5, not with the C pawn, but with the queen. But because by taking with the queen, queen takes D5, he's now attacking the knight again. Undefended. We have an undefended knight, so this knight has to save itself.
Right.
So what does Ding Loren do now?
So sixth move, knight to C2, so he's moving the knight a third time.
Wow, so it came from G1 to F3 to D4 to C2.
C2, yeah.
Wow, okay. All right, so now Nepomniachtchi's move, it's time for him to start developing additional pieces here. So he plays the knight on G8 to F6, which adds a defense on the pawn on E4, which is not under attack.
Right.
But again, it's a good developing move. Okay, Ding Loren's next move is the seventh move coming up. What does he do?
So he plays knight to C3. We call that developing with tempo because he's developing it and attacking a piece at the same time, which has to move.
Right, and you use the word tempo, which means time.
Time.
He gains time.
He gains time because Black loses time having to move the piece.
Right. Now the question is, where does that queen go? There are some different squares that queen could go, but the Nepomniachtchi, I think, selects the best square for that queen now.
It's the most common,
Yes, he plays the queen to E5. So the queen is now on E5, and now it's Ding Loren's eighth move coming up. How does he continue?
So he finally fianchettos the bishop to G2.
Right. That was the whole purpose of playing G3.
G3, right.
G3, yes, to fianchetto the bishop, the light squared bishop. Okay, so Black has to catch up well, has to continue with his development of pieces. It's very important in the opening to develop pieces. And what he did, Nepomniachtchi, he played on the knight on b8, not to d7, as some players might do.
Yep.
He played the pawn to the side of the board.
The knight, yep.
Knight to a6.
Yep.
Now, what's that old adage regarding the knight?
A knight on the rim is dim or grim.
Oh, grim, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So we don't. There's no future for that knight's
Right, so it's not going to stay there,
No,
right?
it's going to be redeployed.
Probably going to go to c5, possibly c7.
Right, right. So it's a way of redeploying that
Right.
knight to a different square. So after knight a6, what Ding did now was what?
Castles.
Yep. So he's able to do that. Now, what does Nepomniachtchi do? For him to castle, he's got to be able to move this knight and develop.
The bishop,
What
yep.
he does, he brings the bishop to e7,
Yep.
so the bishop can operate on both sides of the board by staying here.
Yep.
He's not going to go to. This would be a very bad square. It doesn't make any sense because you're biting on granite here
Right.
with the bishop and queen lined up. So bishop e7 is the correct move to play in this position, and Nepomniachtchi now plays what? I mean, Ding Liren. Ding Liren plays what?
Knight to e3, so he's moving this knight for a fourth time.
Wow. So
In the first 10 moves.
with the same knight, he's moved it 4 times
Yep.
in the opening here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's the
So this is very unusual. You don't typically see a knight sitting on e3 in front of the
Has this
the
been
e-pawn.
played before?
Yeah, I guess Ding himself has played this.
Yes, I think you
against
told
someone
me
else. Yeah.
that he is actually Ding. This is no stranger to Ding.
This very
'cause
position,
he's
yeah.
played the same opening
Yep.
against others. Okay. So what Nepomniachtchi did now was the castle
Yep.
on his 10th move, and that's what he does. He's got his king in a safe place.
Yeah.
All right. Ding Liren's move, 11th move. What does he do?
So he plays a3.
Now, should we tell our readers, our viewers, I should
Yep.
say, what is the purpose of playing a3? What is the plan here by playing a3?
So it's looking like he wants to then push this pawn and then put the bishop,
Yes.
fianchetto the bishop to aim at the queen.
That's the plan.
That's the
because
plan.
there's still a poor little bishop.
Yeah.
It's got, it's got to come into play somehow.
Right.
And the way to do it is to play it by fianchettoing
Yeah.
the dark squared bishop along that long diagonal. So after a3, Nepomniachtchi plays his rook on f8 to e8, because the rook has no future staying on f8, but it actually adds further defense to this pawn on e4. Remember, this pawn on e4 is
indirectly, yeah.
attacked twice.
Yep.
But now it's defended 3 times. So it's important to protect, any pieces or pawns that are.
Well, we could say it'll be defended once this bishop moves, right?
Well, oh, yes, right.
It's not-
Yeah, right, yeah. Because once this bishop moves, we have a 3-time defense of the pawn.
Defense, yeah.
But right now it's only defended,
Twice.
the pawn is only twice. But,
Right.
but again, white is defending or attacking it twice, and it's
Twice, right.
defended twice. Okay, what happens now? It's white's move.
So, like we said, Ding plays b4 on his
Okay.
next move,
All
opening
right.
up the square for his bishop.
Okay. Now comes a very interesting move by Nepomniachtchi
Yeah.
on his 12th move. He plays, instead of bringing, well, again, where could he bring the knight? I mean, he could bring the knight, the bishop, I should say, to e6. But no, he decides, no, he wants to play the knight to g4. Now,
Right. So he's offering up this pawn, which now is only
Yes.
defended once.
That's right. He's leaving the defense of that pawn. So he's allowing Ding Liren to take that pawn on e4.
Right.
Does he do it?
He doesn't do it. He does
Oh,
not do it.
He must suspect something. He probably, I'm sure he analyzed this and
Right.
found out.
Right. It's
that-
obvious. Yeah.
But there was nothing wrong with taking the pawn, was there?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
But again, what did he do in response to
But
that knight?
instead, he develops a piece. I mean,
Right.
that's, like you say, it's also very important in the opening is to develop pieces.
As fast as you can.
And
Right.
he's developing it where now if he moves the knight, the queen will be attacked.
Okay. Well, because of that bishop e2 by Ding Liren, Nepomniachtchi now plays queen h5. Is there a threat? Is there a threat here?
Threatening mate in one move, yeah.
Right. There's a checkmate in one move here.
Yeah,
So Ding Liren cannot allow that.
right.
So how does he stop that? How does he stop the checkmate?
Well, we could say, he has multiple ways, right? He could simply just take the knight.
That's true.
Just trade.
Right. That's one way. Eliminate that knight.
I guess he could also just push the pawn one square to kick the knight away.
Well, there may be a problem because this knight could take here on e3, allowing now the bishop and the queen to win this
Oh,
pawn.
that's true. Yep,
Yeah,
yep, that's true.
So I get the only move, if White's not going to take the knight on g4 with the knight,
H4.
he's got to play h4 to stop
Right.
the checkmate.
Yep.
Okay, so on h4, now this allows Nepomniachtchi on his 14th move now to challenge White on the log move.
Right.
Yeah, with bishop f6, and that's what he did. Bishop f6, a very good move. All right, so what is Ding Liren going to do now?
So we can point out that this pawn is still,
Yeah.
could be captured if he wanted.
That's true. As we look at it,
Yep.
it's attacked twice.
Yep.
It's only defended once. And Ding Liren could have taken that.
Could have taken it, but again, he decides to develop. So he plays queen to c2,
Yeah.
developing, the final piece. And
Now he's attacking it three
Attacking it three
times.
times, yep.
If the pawn on e4 is attacked 3 times, it's only defended once.
Yep.
Okay, what does now Nepomniachtchi do? Well, Nepomniachtchi says, I think I want to exchange this knight on e3. So he plays knight takes e3.
Right.
Okay, and this actually forces White's next move because he has to take. How does he? With what pawn does he take that knight back? He cannot take with the f pawn. Why not? Why can he not take? You know why he cannot take with the f pawn?
Why not?
Because well, no, actually, because it would render this weak for one thing.
Right.
It would, yes.
Probably gonna lose that.
That would be bad to lose that. So what he did is he took with the d pawn.
D pawn, yep.
That's right. I'm sorry. D takes e3.
Yep.
Is the move. That was the 16th move. All right. Now we have actually, the queen, the knight, the bishop are attacking this pawn 3 times.
3 times.
It's only defended once.
Yep.
Nepomniachtchi says, I think maybe I want to protect that pawn, but it's not going to be enough, right?
Right.
So he plays bishop f5.
But he's developing his last piece, basically.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And so now Ding Liren has to make a decision. How does he proceed here after bishop f5? Well, he now evidently he wants to try to eliminate this bishop.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't like this bishop here, which possibly may be doing maybe some possible sacking.
Yeah.
So he plays what on the next move?
Knight a4.
Knight a4.
So he's got his knight on the edge, too.
Right. Yeah. Right. He's brought his, but he's offered the exchange of bishops.
Right.
And what does the Nepomniachtchi do? Well, he takes it.
He takes it, yeah.
Bishop takes b2 is Nepomniachtchi's 17th move. And how does actually Ding Liren recapture? With the queen
He
or the knight?
recaptures with the knight, but commentators pointed out that probably would have been better to take with the queen.
He was better off taking with the queen
Yeah.
and actually leaving this knight so could actually
Knight, yes.
yeah,
To possibly
go
there.
here, yes.
Yeah.
Possibly go to c5. But he took with the knight.
Took with the knight, right.
Okay, so he's going backwards here. All right. Nepomniachtchi's move, it says 18th move coming up. This knight on a6 now redeploys the c7, knight
Right.
c7. And I see where he can anchor it down. There's a possibility of
Right.
bringing it there.
Right.
All right. So it's Ding Liren's move. It's 19th move. What does he do?
Right, so knight to c4.
Knight c4. Okay. Now here's a very good move by Nepomniachtchi. He brings this rook on e8.
Oh,
We call it a rook lift. He brings it up to e6. Yeah.
Right.
So that's a good move. He also possibly vacates the square
For the other
for
rook.
the other rook to come
Right.
over, and adding further defense here, but doubling the rooks is actually looks like the plan.
So one thing that was talked about is anywhere along the line he could have potentially just played g4 to start an attack.
Oh.
But
But he chose not to. He chose instead.
yeah, so he's adding the rook possibly to the attack now,
Exactly.
right? He could play g4 and put the rook behind it
Behind
now.
it, yeah.
So he's taking his
He's giving
time.
him some options.
Yeah, he's taking his time.
Not rushing it, although he could have played g5.
Okay.
All right. So what did White do? Or Ding Liren plays?
Rook f to d1
Okay.
on the open
FD1.
file.
Okay. So now Nepomniachtchi now plays the knight
Okay,
on c.
so we are getting the word to move along.
Okay, we'll move along. Knight d5 is his move. Okay, knight d5 is the move.
Yeah.
Okay, and now it's actually, what does he do?
Rook d4.
Okay, so it looks like he may be doubling or
Right.
All
Right.
right. So again, Nepomniachtchi doesn't rush. He could play g5, but he chooses not to rush it.
Yep.
He plays h6, which can still
Helping to prepare
G5.
Yep.
What does the Ding Liren do now? It's his.
Now, Ding, they this was commented on that he probably, for reasons we won't get into, probably needed to double up with the rook here.
Right,
But he didn't. He played the queen there.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is rather awkward. Not
Awkward's a good word.
All right. So now Nepomniachtchi says, oh, I'm doubling
Right.
my rooks. Rook on A to E8. That's what he does. So all his pieces are developed.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. And the only piece the white has developed is the rook on A1.
Right.
Okay, one thing. Okay, so now what does
So Ding plays king H2 with the point being he's hoping to bring the rook behind it and then pull the king back, so the rook is.
So that was the purpose of playing king H2, so he could vacate the square for the rook, and then scoot back to G1.
But he won't get the chance.
No, because here's what happens: the bishop goes to G4. Nepomniachtchi plays bishop G4 on the 23rd move. Okay, but now there's a double attack on the pawn on E2. So what does Ding Liren do now? He doesn't want to lose that pawn.
Yeah.
So what he does is,
he counterattacks.
He counterattacks. He says, okay,
over
look
here.
He said, look it, I'll leave that pawn for you. I want this pawn on B7.
Yeah.
And what Nepomniachtchi does, he doesn't grab that pawn, which he could have.
Right.
Instead, he likes this move even better. Rook F6 with the attack on the undefended pawn on F2.
Right.
Okay, what is Ding Liren going to do now?
So now, unfortunately for him, he has to
go back
move the king back where it was.
He's got to protect the pawn on F2. Now Nepomniachtchi plays the move.
Finally plays it,
Finally plays G5, attacking this pawn on H4. It's attacked twice with the pawn on G5 and with the queen on H5. So this is looking rather grim here now. So what does Ding Liren do now after G5?
So he grabs a pawn, knight B7, takes B7.
Oh, he takes the pawn on B7.
Yep.
And the opponent says, okay, I don't care. You can have whatever you want on the queen side. I'm going to take this pawn on H4 with the G pawn. G takes H4. It's his move. Okay, what does Ding Liren do now after G takes H4?
So now it looks like he's trying to get the knight back into play here to help defend.
Okay.
But it's going to be too late.
Now, Nepomniachtchi now advances his pawn to H3, attacks the bishop.
Right.
The bishop has to save itself. Has to, or does it?
Or does it? Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't.
It doesn't have a lot of good places
no, he
to move.
chooses not to save it.
Right.
Instead, he chooses to take.
Rook takes E4.
Hoping for possibly, if the rook was stupid enough to take, he'd be able to take back with the bishop on G2.
Right.
But Nepomniachtchi doesn't do that. No. After rook takes E4, he takes the bishop.
Yep.
H takes G2, threatening mate on the next move on H1. So this forces.
Rook takes E8 check. So.
All right. So he won. He's won the rook, forcing the king to move to G7.
Right.
All right. The king moves to G7. That was the 29th move. Now what does? Now he's threatened with mate.
Threatened with mate, so he plays F4 to give his king a space to get to.
And Nepomniachtchi comes down, check, queen H1, check.
Yep.
King only has one square, king F2.
King F2.
Okay, and now we have Nepomniachtchi taking the rook on A1, queen takes A1 on the 31st move, and now what? And then he's still threatening mate.
Right.
Yeah. So he takes the pawn.
Takes the pawn.
King takes the
stop
pawn.
the mate.
Yep. And now after bishop H3, Ding Liren resigns.
Resigns.
Okay, and we can tell you right now this is a forced mate. Yeah. Because if the king takes, we can show it here.
Yeah.
King takes.
King takes.
The queen. I'll move the queen over. Check. The king has to move over here, and now we check with the pawn here.
Yep.
Forcing the king here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the king moves
Here.
And then with the queen here, we go here.
It's going to be mate.
It's going to be mate. Unstoppable mate.
Yep.
So, chess fans, we hope you enjoy the game we presented you from the 2022 Candidates Tournament, won by Russian Grandmaster Jan Nepomniachtchi, now the official challenger to Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, in hopefully a world title match in early 2023. Stay tuned for our next Chat Chat, an exciting program we promise you.